Did you know that one US tunnel was built for fish, while another is so deep it runs beneath a major shipping channel? Tunnels in the USA are far stranger than you'd ever imagine. Here are 50 facts to show you why. With number 50, let's start at the basics. A tunnel is defined as an underground or underwater passage built for transportation, utilities, or access, typically enclosed on all sides. In the United States, tunnels carry everything from cars and trains to water and sewage. Without them, many of the country's most populated cities simply could not function. So the next time you drive through one, remember, there's a lot more going on underground than most people realize. Number 49. The USA has thousands of tunnels across its infrastructure network. Road tunnels alone number in the hundreds, while rail tunnels push that figure into the thousands when freight, subway, and commuter lines are included. The exact count is difficult to pin down, since many tunnels are part of utility systems and never appear on public maps. But one thing is certain, the underground world beneath US cities is far more extensive than most people ever imagine. Next up, number 48. The first vehicular road tunnel in the United States was the Callahan Tunnel in Boston, Massachusetts. It opened in 1961 beneath Boston Harbor and connected the city's downtown district to East Boston. At the time, it was considered a major engineering achievement and helped reshape how traffic moved through one of the country's oldest and most congested cities. The Callahan still carries traffic today, making it a functioning piece of mid-century US infrastructure. Number 47. Before the Callahan, there was the Holland Tunnel, and it changed everything. Completed in 1927, the Holland Tunnel was the first underwater vehicular tunnel in the United States, connecting Manhattan in New York to Jersey City in New Jersey beneath the Hudson River. It was named after Clifford Milburn Holland, the chief engineer who died before seeing it completed. At the time, no one had ever built a ventilation system for an underwater road tunnel, making the Holland a genuine engineering first on the world stage. Fact number 46. Speaking of ventilation, when engineers were designing the Holland Tunnel, they faced a problem no one had solved before. How do you stop drivers from being poisoned by carbon monoxide in an enclosed underwater tube? Their solution was a massive forced air ventilation system using 84 enormous fans arranged in 4 ventilation buildings, 2 on each side of the river. The system could completely replace all air inside the tunnel every 90 seconds. It was so groundbreaking that it became the standard for tunnel ventilation worldwide. Fact number 45. The Holland Tunnel wasn't New York's last word on Hudson River crossings. The Lincoln Tunnel followed in 1937, and it now holds the title of the busiest vehicular tunnel in the world. On its busiest days, the Lincoln Tunnel handles over 100,000 vehicles, connecting Weehawken, New Jersey to Midtown Manhattan. It has 3 tubes. The first opened in 1937, the second in 1945, and the third in 1957. Together, they form one of the most critical pieces of infrastructure in the entire northeastern US. Fact number 44. Beneath New York City, a secret network of water tunnels, freight passages, and utility corridors runs far below the subway that holds the entire metropolis together, and almost nobody knows it exists. City Water Tunnel number 3 has been under continuous construction since 1970, and when complete, it will allow engineers to shut down and inspect the older tunnels for the first time since they were built. Tunnels that have been running non-stop for over a century because stopping them would cut off water to millions of people. The workers who build these tunnels are called sandhogs and operate hundreds of feet below street level in punishing conditions. Dozens have died on the job. Fact number 43. So how deep do US tunnels actually go? The deepest road tunnel in the country is the Ted Williams Tunnel in Boston, which sits about 90 feet below the surface of Boston Harbor. But for sheer underground depth, utility and water tunnels go far deeper. Chicago's TARP system, the Tunnel and Reservoir Plan, includes tunnels drilled as far as 350 feet below street level into solid rock. That's deeper than many mines and puts Chicago's underground infrastructure in a league of its own. Moving on to fact number 42. The longest road tunnel in the United States is the Anton Anderson Memorial Tunnel in Alaska. It stretches 2.5 miles through the Chugach Mountains and is the longest combined rail and road tunnel in North America. And before you say anything, yes, there are trains in this one too. This is not a bit. What makes it especially unusual is that it alternates between carrying vehicle and rail traffic on the same single-lane path, meaning drivers have to wait for a signal before entering. It connects the town of Whittier, which sits on a fjord, to the rest of Alaska's road network. Fact number 41. The Anton Anderson Tunnel isn't just remarkable for its length, it's the only road into one of the strangest towns in the United States. Whittier, Alaska is a place where nearly the entire population lives in a single building called Begich Towers. For years, the tunnel closed overnight, meaning once you were inside, you were effectively cut off from the rest of the world until morning. Even today, traffic moves through the tunnel on a strict one-way schedule, alternating directions every half hour. Whittier isn't just remote, it's a town where access itself is controlled by a single tunnel. Fact number 40. If you want the highest road tunnel in the US, you'll find it in Colorado. The Eisenhower-Johnson Memorial Tunnel sits at an elevation of 11,158 feet above sea level in the Rocky Mountains along Interstate 70. That's so high that the tunnel actually passes through the Continental Divide, the line separating rivers that flow to the Pacific from those that flow to the Atlantic. At that altitude, the air is noticeably thinner, and the tunnel is equipped with special ventilation systems to keep engine emissions from building up inside. Number 39. The Eisenhower Tunnel's position at the Continental Divide is no accident. Before it opened in 1973, drivers crossing that stretch of I-70 had to navigate a steep, winding mountain road called Loveland Pass. In winter, that pass was frequently closed due to snow and ice, cutting off a critical east-west route through Colorado. The tunnel solved that problem almost entirely. Today, the Eisenhower-Johnson Tunnel is one of the highest vehicular tunnels in the world, and it remains a vital link for both commuters and freight traffic through the Rockies. Number 38. Some U.S. infrastructure blurs the line between tunnel and bridge, and nothing does that better than the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel in Virginia. Now, if you watched our bridges video, you already know this one. And yes, we're mentioning it again because, frankly, it's too good not to. This remarkable structure stretches nearly 20 miles across the mouth of the Chesapeake Bay, combining bridges, man-made islands, and 2 underwater tunnels into a single route. The tunnels dip below the surface to allow large naval and commercial ships to pass overhead. When it opened in 1964, it was called one of the 7 engineering wonders of the modern world. Some facts just refuse to stay in one video. Number 37. Beneath the highways of Washington State, there are tunnels whose sole purpose is to let salmon through. For decades, the concrete culverts carrying streams under state roads were too narrow and too fast-flowing for migrating fish to pass, effectively cutting salmon off from hundreds of miles of spawning habitat. In 2013, a federal court ruled that Washington State had violated Native American treaty rights by blocking fish runs and ordered the state to fix or replace every offending culvert by 2030. The price tag has since doubled to nearly $8 billion. Washington is now spending roughly $1 million a day building fish-passable tunnels beneath its own highways, and the salmon are already using them. One coho was tracked swimming through a tunnel running directly under 9 lanes of Interstate 405. Fact number 36. No conversation about U.S. tunnels is complete without the Big Dig. Boston's Central Artery/Tunnel project, universally known as the Big Dig, was the most expensive highway project in U.S. history at the time of its completion. The project rerouted a major elevated highway through a series of tunnels beneath downtown Boston and beneath the harbor, and created 300 acres of new parkland above them. Work began in 1991, and while it was supposed to be done by 1998, the final sections weren't completed until 2007. The total cost ballooned to roughly $24.3 billion. Fact number 35. The Big Dig wasn't just expensive, it was also controversial. After opening, sections of the tunnel system developed significant leaks, with water seeping through joints in the tunnel walls. In 2006, just over a year after the tunnels opened to traffic, a ceiling panel in the Interstate 90 connector tunnel collapsed, killing a passenger in a car driving through. The incident led to inspections of tunnel infrastructure across the entire country and a sweeping investigation into the materials used. It remains one of the most serious infrastructure failures in modern U.S. history. Fact number 34. The Big Dig inspired other cities to rethink how they build roads. In Seattle, they replaced an old waterfront highway by moving it underground, using a giant tunnel boring machine called Bertha. This got rid of an ugly elevated road that had been blocking the waterfront for years and opened the area up for people to enjoy. Just like the Big Dig, the project went over budget and took longer than planned. But in the end, it completely changed the look and feel of the city in a way regular roads never could. Fact number 33. Modern tunnels in the USA are typically built using tunnel boring machines, or TBMs. These massive cylindrical machines grind through rock and soil while simultaneously installing precast concrete lining segments behind them. Some TBMs are over 50 feet in diameter, large enough to drive a semi-truck through the cutter head. Bertha, the TBM used in Seattle, was the largest of its kind in the world at the time of its deployment. These machines have transformed what's possible in tunnel construction, allowing engineers to bore through almost any geological condition. Number 32. Speaking of Bertha, she famously broke down. Shortly after beginning the Seattle tunneling project in 2013, the 57-foot wide machine struck an old steel pipe and suffered a catastrophic breakdown that left her buried underground for over a year. Engineers had to dig a massive rescue pit just to reach her and carry out repairs. The delay cost hundreds of millions of dollars and became international news in engineering circles. It was a reminder that even the most advanced equipment can be humbled by what lies beneath a city's streets. Fact number 31. Before TBMs, tunnels were built by hand, and some of those hand-dug passages still carry traffic today. The Hoosac Tunnel in Massachusetts was drilled through the Berkshire Mountains primarily by hand labor between 1851 and 1875, making it one of the longest and most grueling tunnel projects of the 19th century. Workers used black powder and later nitroglycerin for blasting. Nearly 200 men died during construction. When it was finally completed, the Hoosac Tunnel was the longest rail tunnel in North America, a record it held for decades. Fact number 30. The Hoosac Tunnel earned a dark nickname over the years, the Bloody Pit. Because of the enormous number of deaths during its construction, the tunnel developed a reputation for being haunted. Local legends describe voices, strange lights, and ghostly figures near the eastern portal. Whether you believe in the paranormal or not, the Hoosac Tunnel's history is undeniably grim, and it remains one of the most storied pieces of rail infrastructure in New England. Trains still run through it to this day. Fact number 29. As railroads pushed west, tunnels became one of the most critical tools for getting through the country's toughest terrain. In places like the Sierra Nevada, going around mountains wasn't practical, so engineers went straight through them. Early crews drilled and blasted tunnels through solid granite using hand tools, black powder, and sheer labor. These tunnels weren't just part of the railroad, they were what made those routes possible in the first place. Up next, number 28. The longest railroad tunnel in the United States is the Cascade Tunnel in Washington State, stretching 7.8 miles beneath the Cascade Mountain Range. Completed in 1929, it was deliberately routed deeper through the mountain to avoid the hazards that plagued earlier alignments. By cutting a longer, lower path through solid rock, engineers created a more stable and reliable year-round corridor. The tunnel remains one of the clearest examples of how going underground can solve problems the surface simply can't. Number 27. That 1910 Wellington disaster, caused by an avalanche near the original Cascade Pass route, remains the deadliest avalanche in U.S. history. Infrastructure near the summit was left exposed during a brutal winter storm, placing it directly in harm's way. When the avalanche hit in the early morning hours, it swept everything down the mountainside into a canyon. The disaster forced a rethink of mountain design, proving that routing through safer tunnel alignments could be a matter of survival. Fact number 26. If the underground tunnel networks in major U.S. cities stopped working, traffic would overwhelm streets within hours, businesses would stall, and entire cities would start to shut down. Millions of people depend on these passageways every day to move through, places that simply couldn't function at street level alone. New York City alone has 472 stations connected by a tunnel network over a century old. Chicago, Washington, D.C., Boston, San Francisco, and Los Angeles all rely on similar systems. These tunnels aren't optional. They're what keeps cities functioning at all. Next up, number 25. Entire subway platforms, left sealed off and largely untouched for decades, still exist beneath major U.S. cities. Every day, trains pass through tunnels right beside them, and most riders have no idea how close they are. Just beyond the walls are stations frozen in time, sitting in darkness, still recognizable from the moment they were closed. New York City has several of these ghost stations, including the original City Hall station, shut down in 1945. Its vaulted tile ceilings and skylights are still there. Occasionally, a train window catches one for a split second. Then it disappears again like it was never there at all. Number 24. Every day, thousands of people travel through tunnels running directly beneath the Potomac River, surrounded by water on all sides, just feet from the river above. Washington, D.C. relies on these underwater passages to stay connected to its Virginia suburbs. The Metro's blue, orange, and silver lines all pass beneath the river this way, along with major road tunnels like I-395. What feels like a routine commute is actually happening inside sealed tunnels under a moving body of water, one of the most hidden and high-stakes pieces of infrastructure in the capital. And beyond the tunnels people use every day, Washington, D.C. has others that serve a very different purpose. Fact number 23. The country capital has a history of secret tunnels that goes beyond public knowledge. There are documented tunnel systems connecting the White House and other government buildings, built for emergency evacuation purposes. The Raven Rock Mountain Complex in Pennsylvania and the Mount Weather Emergency Operations Center in Virginia are connected to the broader network of government continuity bunkers built during the Cold War. While the full extent of these systems remains classified, their existence is an open secret among infrastructure historians and national security researchers. Number 22. Most people assume tunnels are carved out, but did you know that underwater tunnels are often assembled and sunk into place? Engineers build massive sections elsewhere, float them out onto the water, then lower them into a trench on the riverbed and seal them together. Once connected, the tunnel is pumped dry and finished from the inside. It's a process that turns open water into a sealed underground passage, making it possible to travel beneath rivers and harbors without ever seeing the surface. Number 21. Did you know that some underwater tunnels are constructed by temporarily removing the water altogether? Not all underwater tunnels are built deep below the surface. Sometimes, engineers dig a trench into the riverbed or harbor floor, build the tunnel structure inside it, then cover it back up and restore the water above. From the surface, you'd never know it's there. It's one of the oldest and most straightforward ways to build underwater tunnels, turning part of a river into a construction site, then putting it back when the job is done. Fact number 20. Virginia's Hampton Roads waterway is home to one of the most complex tunnel networks in the country. The Hampton Roads area is a major U.S. Navy hub, home to Naval Station Norfolk, the largest naval base in the world, and the tunnels beneath the harbor are essential to both civilian and military traffic. There are currently 2 bridge tunnel crossings in the area, with a 3rd major expansion project underway. The combination of military traffic, commercial shipping, and civilian commuters makes Hampton Roads one of the most strategically important tunnel corridors in the entire United States. Number 19. The military connection to U.S. tunnels goes well beyond Virginia. During World War II, tunnel systems were constructed across the country as part of civil defense and strategic infrastructure planning. The Cheyenne Mountain Complex in Colorado, operational since the 1960s, is perhaps the most famous U.S. military tunnel complex, designed to survive a nuclear attack by embedding the entire facility deep inside solid granite. The complex includes buildings mounted on enormous steel springs to absorb blast shocks and has its own power supply, water reservoir, and air filtration systems. Number 18. Cheyenne Mountain is worth dwelling on for a moment. Carved out of the Rocky Mountains over several years of blasting and excavation, the facility sits roughly 2,000 feet underground. It was originally home to the North Aerospace Defense Command and served as the nerve center for U.S. nuclear early warning systems during the Cold War. While some functions have since moved to newer facilities, Cheyenne Mountain remains on standby alert status and can be brought back to full operation within hours. It's one of the most extraordinary tunnel engineering feats in U.S. history. Fact number 17. U.S. tunnels aren't just a mainland phenomenon. Alaska has several significant road tunnels carved through its mountains, including the Whittier Tunnel already mentioned. Hawaii, despite being a collection of islands with no need for river crossings, has tunnels too. The Wilson Tunnel and Tetsuo Harano tunnels on Oahu cut through the Ko'olau mountain range, connecting the Honolulu side of the island to the windward coast. Without them, drivers would face a long, winding mountain road every time they wanted to cross from one side of the island to the other. Number 16. Some of the most scenic tunnels in the U.S. are found inside national parks. The most famous is undoubtedly the tunnel on the road to Zion Canyon in Utah's Zion National Park. The Zion Mount Carmel Tunnel, opened in 1930, stretches over a mile through sandstone cliffs and features a series of large cutout openings, called galleries, carved into the canyon wall to admit light and allow breathtaking views mid-tunnel. Large vehicles require a special traffic control procedure to pass through. Driving through it feels less like infrastructure and more like an experience. Number 15. Tunnels in the U.S. are subject to strict safety regulations, enforced at both the federal and state level. The Federal Highway Administration sets standards covering everything from lighting and ventilation to incident detection and emergency egress. Every road tunnel must have designated emergency exits, fire suppression systems, and communication infrastructure. After the I-90 ceiling collapse in Boston's Big Dig tunnels in 2006, federal guidelines were updated significantly. Today, tunnel safety inspections are regular and mandatory, with detailed structural assessments required on a set cycle for all tunnels on the federal highway system. Number 14. Tunnel fires are one of the most dangerous scenarios in underground infrastructure. Because tunnels are enclosed, smoke and toxic gases build up rapidly, and evacuating can be extremely difficult. One of the worst tunnel fire incidents in U.S. history occurred in the Baltimore Rail Tunnel in 2001, when a freight train carrying hazardous chemicals derailed inside the tunnel. The resulting fire burned for days, causing a sinkhole to open above the tunnel on a city street and contaminating the water supply. No one was killed, but the incident exposed serious vulnerabilities in the safety protocols for rail tunnels passing through dense urban areas. Number 13. Did you know that tunnel lighting is a more complex engineering challenge than most people realize? The problem isn't darkness, it's the transition. When drivers enter a tunnel from bright daylight, their eyes need time to adjust. If the tunnel entrance is too dark, there's a dangerous period where drivers can barely see. Engineers solve this through a system of graduated lighting zones. The entrance zone is lit much more brightly than the middle of the tunnel, gradually tapering to a lower level as eyes adapt. Modern tunnels also use LED lighting systems that can be adjusted dynamically based on outside light conditions. Next is fact number 12. Many U.S. tunnels charge tolls, and some of those tolls are surprisingly high. The Hugh L. Carey Tunnel in New York City and the Lincoln Tunnel both collect tolls, helping to fund maintenance and operations. The Lincoln Tunnel toll for passenger vehicles is among the highest single crossing tolls in the country. Some tunnels operate under public authorities, while others are privately owned. The Pocahontas Parkway in Virginia includes a privately operated tunnel and was one of the first fully private toll road projects in the modern U.S. era. Number 11. Not all U.S. tunnels are built for vehicles. Cities across the country use pedestrian and bike tunnels to move people safely beneath busy roads, highways, and rail lines, sometimes replacing dangerous street crossings entirely. Many are simple underpasses, but others are fully designed spaces with lighting, murals, and dedicated bike paths. In some cities, these tunnels connect entire neighborhoods without ever forcing cyclists or pedestrians above ground. They represent a different approach to infrastructure, one built around moving people, not just cars. Fact number 10. Beneath nearly every major U.S. city lies a network of utility tunnels that most residents never see or think about. These passages carry water mains, sewer lines, electrical cables, steam pipes, and telecommunications conduits. In older cities like New York, Chicago, and Boston, these utility tunnels form a sprawling subterranean city beneath the city. Some are large enough to walk through, others are barely accessible. Maintenance workers who spend their careers in these tunnels develop an intimate knowledge of urban infrastructure that most people above ground never acquire. Number 9. Did you know that Chicago built an entire underground delivery system and then just shut it down and left it there? The Chicago Tunnel Company operated a 60-mile network of narrow freight tunnels beneath the city, moving coal, goods, and even mail between buildings in the early 1900s. At its peak, hundreds of workers kept this hidden system running below the streets. But by the mid-20th century, it was abandoned, sealed off, and largely forgotten, even though the tunnels themselves were never removed and still exist beneath the city today. Decades later, those forgotten tunnels became a major problem. Fact number 8. In 1992, a construction crew driving pilings into the Chicago River accidentally cracked one of the old tunnel walls, and river water began pouring into the system. Because the tunnels connected to the basements of nearly every major building in the Loop, Chicago's central business district, the flooding spread rapidly and without warning. The city's financial district, Merchandise Mart, and dozens of other buildings were affected. The Chicago Board of Trade had to shut down for days, and the cleanup took months. Number 7. The Chicago flood exposed a broader issue. Tunnels and underground infrastructure are inherently vulnerable to water. Today, that risk is growing. As global temperatures rise, storms are becoming more intense and more unpredictable, dumping larger volumes of rain in shorter periods of time. Many U.S. cities now rely on massive, deep tunnel systems to capture stormwater and prevent streets, subways, and buildings from flooding. Chicago's TARP system was built to handle exactly this, and cities like Los Angeles use extensive underground drains to move runoff out to sea. As extreme weather becomes more common, these hidden tunnel systems aren't just helpful, they're becoming one of the last lines of defense keeping entire cities from flooding. Fact number 6. Maintaining U.S. tunnel infrastructure is extraordinarily expensive. Unlike roads, which can be repaired in sections relatively easily, tunnels require specialized equipment, trained crews, and often complete closures to perform structural work. The Port Authority of New York and New Jersey spends hundreds of millions of dollars annually on tunnel maintenance across its Hudson River crossings alone. Nationwide, the infrastructure investment gap for tunnel repair and upkeep is counted in the billions. The 2021 Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act included dedicated funding streams for tunnel rehabilitation, the first time in decades that federal money was specifically earmarked for that purpose. This leads to number 5. The future of U.S. tunneling is being shaped by a wave of new innovations. Companies like Elon Musk's The Boring Company have proposed, and in some cases, begun building smaller, faster, cheaper tunnels than traditional methods allow. Their approach uses narrower tunnels, electric vehicle sleds, and highly automated boring equipment to reduce costs dramatically. A short tunnel in Las Vegas beneath the convention center opened in 2021 and has carried millions of passengers. Whether this approach can scale to replace traditional urban transit systems remains a major question in infrastructure circles. Fact number 4. That Las Vegas Convention Center loop is just one piece of a broader tunnel vision for the city. The Boring Company has received permits to build an expanded Vegas Loop system that would eventually connect major hotels, the airport, and other destinations via a network of tunnels beneath the Las Vegas Strip. If fully built, it could stretch over 35 miles and include dozens of stations. Critics question whether small-capacity electric vehicle tunnels can move enough people to matter in a city of Las Vegas's scale. But supporters argue the system offers a cost-effective alternative to traditional rail infrastructure. Fact number 3. Beyond Las Vegas, the future of U.S. tunnel infrastructure points toward deeper integration of technology. Smart sensors embedded in tunnel walls can now monitor structural integrity in real time, detecting microcracks and water intrusion before they become catastrophic failures. LED lighting systems that adapt dynamically to traffic and weather conditions are becoming standard. Emergency systems have been redesigned with lessons from past disasters in mind. And as more cities look to reduce surface-level car traffic, underground solutions, whether for autonomous vehicles, high-speed rail, or pedestrians, are back at the center of urban planning conversations across the country. Fact number 2. Pretty much everything moving through the northeastern U.S. passes through a tunnel at some point. Freight trains cut through the Cascades and Rockies. Commuters flood under rivers in New York, Boston, and D.C. twice a day. Gas and water flow through tunnels beneath cities coast to coast. Dark, damp, and invisible to most, tunnels are among the most essential infrastructure in the country. Without them, cities would halt and supply chains would collapse within days. And finally, fact number 1. Right now, beneath your feet, something is moving. It might be a Cold War escape route built to evacuate presidents in the event of a nuclear strike, or a hidden network moving millions of people through a city without ever being seen. Less glamorously, it could be a tunnel carrying millions of gallons of raw sewage through the darkness as you listen to this, or a system quietly redirecting floodwater before it can overwhelm entire streets. Some tunnels even carry fish. The ground beneath you isn't empty, it's active, layered, and doing work you'll probably never notice. It always has been. Thanks for coming along today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you'd like to see more stories like this, consider subscribing and turning on notifications. It really helps the channel stay on the map. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time on Pole to Pole, wherever the map takes us.